I'm going to give you today really kind of a 30,000 foot view like of my process that I go through in 5 steps. 5 steps to kind of creating a vision for really your big life, right? Like 5 years, 10 years out, 20 years out. Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm moirakucaba, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. Welcome back to the show, you guys. It is December 30th. Oh my goodness. 2025 is literally 2 days from now, right around the corner. This is my favorite time of year. Like goal setting, vision. It is everything to me. You know, many years ago, I got kind of the title of Vision Queen simply because I was that passionate about teaching it to people. I am that passionate about vision in my own life, reading it, seeing it every single day. If you know me, you know that's my jam. But it's December 30th, y'all. So if you are listening to this particular episode, first of all, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a vision person too. You probably love this stuff as much as I do. I am going to give you today really kind of a 30,000 foot view like of my process that I go through in 5 steps. 5 steps to kind of creating a vision for really your big life, right? Like 5 years, 10 years out, 20 years out. But we're going to kind of hyper focus into the next year, into exactly what you want to create in 2025. I'm going to share with you kind of the downfalls of what people do wrong when they're crafting their vision and their goals. And I'm going to set you up for massive, massive success. All right. So listen, this is the crazy statistic. Some people say 2%, some people say 3%. I always say 2%. So literally only 2% of the population 2% of the population takes intentional time to actually do this work, to put pen to paper, to deep dive on the life they want to create. Like what? 2%. What in the world is the other 98% doing? I don't know. But you're here, you're listening. I can guarantee you, you're probably the 2%. So congrats. But here's the deal. We live our lives so unconsciously, right? We are actually, and I'm not going to go into all the neuroscience behind this, but like our brains are always looking for automatic pathways and shortcuts to conserve energy and to do things faster and more productively. And so we actually fall into kind of becoming like sleepwalking robots and just going like about our life day in, day out, you know, waking up the same way, putting on the same clothes, brushing our teeth the same way, driving to work the same way, going to the same Starbucks, ordering the same drink. Like it's just this turns into like what we wonder why we're like bored or unhappy. We have to take the time to be intentional, to really dig deep. So I'm going to tell you kind of this funny story, and we're going to get to why people like really fail, I hate to say, at their New Year's goals. Why, like, again, 97% of people by the end of January have like chucked their New Year's, you know, resolutions like in the garbage. Well, let me start with this, because then I'll get to the story. So there's really 3 reasons why people just unfortunately fail, right? So number 1, they just kind of have like a wish list, right? So this is the story. Last year, I had spent, and I actually take people, the last few weeks, I've been taking people through a deep, deep dive process. Now, not such a deep dive that you're like, oh, I don't have time for that, Moira. First of all, you have time for it. It's your life. It's your life. But I take people through a 2-week process, really 2-week process, that if you carve out 15, 20 minutes a day, maybe 30 minutes on a couple of the days, but let's say on average 20 minutes a day for 2 weeks, you are going to end up going through this process. And I'm going to give you kind of, like I said, the 30,000 foot view of that today. But you end up going through this process where you go really deep. You kind of start to understand like what drives me, what is really important, not just what I think is important off the top of my head. What do I actually want? What makes me come alive? What are those things that I want to leave a legacy for, right? And so if you think about that and you do the math, that's like it's a handful of many hours, right? That I go through every single year. And so around this time of year, last year, I was sitting in the driveway. I don't know if we had just pulled in or we were getting ready to pull out, but I look at my husband, he's driving the truck, and I was like, so have you gone through your process yet? And he's like, well, no, not really. And I was like, do you know what your goals are? And he's like, yeah. So, and he literally starts like naming his like 2024 goals. And I want you to hear how the conversation went. Do you know what your goals are? I was so excited to hear, right? And he went, well, yeah, which meant he wasn't referencing all this work that he had done. He was actually taking that 3 seconds to think about what he wanted to accomplish. And I got angry because I want so desperately for him to have this dream life that he truly wants, not the one that he thinks he wants, not the one that society is putting on him. I want him to connect with his heart and his soul and really set out on an intentional path and cultivate what he truly wants, right? So I was like, you can't do that. You can't just think about it for 5 seconds and tell me what your goals are. Like, it's bigger than that. Your life is worth more of a time investment and a heart investment into your future. I didn't get really angry. I just got like frustrated. So that's number one, the reason why people fail at this. They just have this like off the top of their head wish list that they haven't spent time actually concretely coming up with. Number two, they also have with those goals that they say, I think I want to lose 10 pounds. There's no clarity, right? Or somebody might say, I really want to, move my business forward. There is no clarity there, right? What does that mean? What does that look like? Can you tell me the day you're going to come home and say, I did it. I accomplished my goal. I moved my business forward. Like there's nothing there that's concrete and tangible, right? So the goals aren't clear. And that's a whole nother topic that we can deep dive on about like how to come up with this clarity. And then number three, this is really the most important part and what takes a lot of time once you get clear on the goals and the process that I walk people through is that you have to have a plan. You have to have a plan. Like if I am going to, say I'm going to write a book. What a concept, because I am writing a book. Say I'm going to write a book. Well, who do I need to hire? What time in my schedule am I carving out to make that happen? What are the deadlines? When do I have to have the book proposal submitted by? Who do I need to contact, at these different publishing agencies? Who do I need to have one-on-one meetings with that I know that could help me on this journey? How many chapters am I writing each month? Like you literally have to have a plan so that when I'm going to write a book this year, quote unquote, that I wake up on January 2nd and I have an actual like something to do on January 2nd. And then I have something to do the next day and I have something to do the next day that builds me very tiny and doable incrementally towards this massive goal of like, I'm going to write a book, right? And so that's the third thing. People don't have a plan. So let's get to it. Let's get to really, again, I can't teach you in 20 minutes, 30 minutes, what I normally teach over the course of a couple weeks and you really sitting down and taking all this time. But you can take each of these 5 steps and really dedicate some time to it. And that's what I want to encourage you in doing either today, tomorrow. And guys, if your life is crazy for the next week, do this first week in January, second week in January. No one is here to tell you that you have to have this done by a certain time. The most important thing is that you do it, is that you take the time because you are worth it. All right, so step number 1, it's not what you think. Step number 1, gratitude. Gratitude. So this is a crazy, amazing exercise that is one of my favorite things to do every year. And what happens is your brain starts to pay attention when you go through the step of the things that really matter, the things that light you up. So again, I might, without thinking of doing any of these steps, might think like, oh, I want to increase my revenue in my business by $1 million next year. I want to, get in better shape and, lose 5 pounds in, whatever, body fat percentage, lean muscle mass, whatever. Specific. But those things might not be what really matters to me when I start to do this. So this is the exercise in step number 1, gratitude. You're going to go back and you're just going to open up your camera roll on your phone. And you're going to go back to January 2024. And you're going to just start scrolling through an entire year of photographs, videos, and you're going to pull out the top 10 things that you are grateful for. It might be pictures of a new grandbaby, right? And that is probably a huge thing. That would probably be in most people's top 10. It might be a weekend trip with girlfriends. It might be something small that you just see a snapshot of that you're like, oh, that like touches my heart. It touches my soul. Like that really is one of the things that blesses me the most and I'm the most grateful for. If I can take 10 things that I've been the most grateful for, maybe it's this friendship, maybe it was this event, maybe it was this trip, maybe it was this experience, it's the top 10 things. And you, in this literally, like this is going to take you probably 15 minutes. These 15 minutes, you're going to have memories come up from all of these photos that you're looking at that you've completely forgotten about. And you're also going to start to connect the dots to the things that you're like, wow, I didn't realize how much that filled my soul. And here's where it starts to connect to the vision and the goals. I need more of that, right? A perfect example is like, I was scrolling back to, gosh, I think it was early May, the first weekend in May, maybe. I was out in Utah with several of like my favorite friends that I never really get to see. I might see them once a year. And they are so special. They're just special people. I love them dearly. And here I am getting ready to plan my 2025. As soon as I saw that picture, I started to connect the dots because subconsciously, I know I'm doing all of this for the new vision, right? I need more time with them. I need more of those moments. That weekend in Utah, those conversations, that brunch, like I have never laughed so hard, cried so much, felt so much love, felt so much connection that it's actually making me like emotional in this moment. I need more of that. I need more of those people. All of a sudden, does 10 pounds matter that much? Like this is what's important in life, right? And so you start to really pull out the things that you want to do more of. And so top 10 things that you're grateful for, go through your camera roll. I'm telling you, it's going to be one of the best 15 minutes of your holiday season if you're doing this over the holidays. Okay, step number 2. This is called the Wheel of Life, and you can probably Google this. I teach it in all my trainings, but I want to say almost every thought leader in the world teaches this. So if you Google Wheel of Life, right, there's a wheel, and you kind of have like these different axes. One is physical body, one is financial, one is, family, one is spiritual. So you have all these different areas of your life. And the middle is a 0. And as the axes go out, there's little tick marks all the way up to 10 on the outside of the circle. And all you're doing, and this really takes maybe a minute or 2, but it's so important. And again, what most people aren't doing, you just want to kind of rank yourself 0 to 10 where you are in each of those areas, right? So one of them is often either called hobbies or recreation, or even simply fun. And for years, and this was like year after year, I would see this come up when I did the Wheel of Life. And I had no idea. I had no awareness until I did this on the Wheel of Life. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I really need more fun. I really need more joy. I really need more downtime. I need more hobbies, because I would be like financially 9, spiritually 9, friends 9, family 9. Like I would have all these really high tick marks, like 9s or 10s. And then it would be like, how much fun and recreation time, like, and hobby are you devoting to your hobbies and stuff like that? And I'd be like, oh, like one, two, because I'm just like go, 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 type A workaholic, right? And I really was that last year, or I shouldn't say that, last many years. In the last year, that started to shift, but only because of this exercise, right? When I go to do this in going into 2025, that number on the fun hobby spectrum has finally really shifted because there's been intention there. All right, so that's step 2, wheel of life. Step 3, now you're going to just start to put pen to paper. And I have entire podcasts about how to write out your vision that we'll link in the show notes. So I'm just going to give you the 30-second version of writing down your vision. Literally put pen to paper and just start writing whatever comes into your brain. You are not allowed to pause for more than 30 seconds. Just think stream of consciousness. You can't do it wrong. You can't do it wrong. The only way you do it wrong is by not doing it, right? So whatever pops into your head, put it down on paper. That's kind of my rule of thumb. Whatever pops into your head, put it down on the piece of paper. It doesn't matter if it's, a luxury car or a private jet, or you want to travel the world and you're like, this is crazy. I make $30,000 a year. What am I thinking? Put it on the piece of paper. Don't ever limit your dreams, right? And then other things are going to start to bubble up. You're going to be thinking not necessarily about your wheel of life, but you're going to go back to those top 10 moments that you're grateful for. And you're going to start to think about, gosh, I want more relationships like this, right? That time I spoke on that huge stage, I came to life. I need to be doing one of those speaking engagements every single month, right? That would be a dream come true. So start to pull from that and think about, and this is actually, let me give you this. This is what I always say is the magic question. If I had all the time, and all the money. So let's say you got $1 billion in the bank and you didn't have to work. So you had all the time. What would you do? What would your life look like? Who would you be spending time with? How would you be giving back? What would you be doing philanthropically? Don't limit your dreams. Don't limit your potential, because in my book, it's all possible. You're just not believing it, right? You need a shift in identity to know that you can do that. Again, a whole nother podcast. So just start dreaming big, medium, small. Every little thing goes down on a piece of paper. That's step 3. All right, step 4. Now I want you to start to sift through it. You're going to look at this vision, right? And mine's usually maybe a full page, right? Maybe it's a half page for you. A lot. And this isn't pretty, guys. It's bullet points. I'm listing kind of words out. I'm writing things in the margin. Then there might be a sentence. There's no wrong way to do this. But as I sit there and look at all those big, medium, and small things, I start to ask myself the question in step 4, what are the 3 most important? If I was just to pick 3 out to focus on in 2025, and those were it, that's what I was going to put all my time into, all my energy, all my focus, what would be the top 3? What would be the top 3? And so what I want you to pay attention to in this process is where you kind of wake up, right? As I'm looking at words in my vision, as I'm reading sentences, there's certain areas, there's certain words that that would be amazing, right? That would be amazing. And so I want you to pay attention to those moments and those pieces, because those are likely your top 3 where you really want to get hyper focused on. And then we start to clarify, right? This last step is kind of a 2-part step. So step 5, I'm going to tell you this in 2 parts. You have to clarify your goals and then create the plan, right? So we could even say this is steps 5 and 6. Clarify the goal and then come up with the plan. So again, let's take the clarifying the goal around my business. So I want to increase revenue in my business. Not very clear. So how about I want to increase my customer sales by $250,000 by August 1st, 2025. Way different, right? Total clarity. Total clarity. So a lot of you guys have probably also heard of SMART goals, That's actually a very smart acronym. So it stands for SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, right? So you have to be able to do it. So when I say I want to increase my customer sales by $250,000, I have to also kind of pause and go like, okay, is that really possible? Like, again, I want to dream big. I don't want to dream small, but I'm not going to say if I'm selling, if my customer sales are $100,000 a year right now, I'm not going to probably say I'm going to sell 2 million in customer sales, new in 2025. Like, that's not really realistic. And then the timely is this timestamp, right? By August 1st, 2025. So you have to have clarity in your goals. Be really specific. Is it measurable? And here's kind of the litmus test. I told you this before early in the podcast. You kind of want to be able to say, like, is it written in a way that I would know that I accomplished it on the day it happened, right? Like, if we are looking to increase customer sales by 250,000, well, that's gonna literally happen one day, right? So I can come home and say, today was the day. It happened. We hit the goal. I can't say that about increasing, profits. I can't say that about improving my marriage. My marriage might be improving, but it's not a hard, specific, measurable, tangible number, right? And this is another little hint. Use numbers as often as you can. You can't do that with every goal, right? Like, if it's more relational, it's very hard to do that. But if you can put numbers around it, it's a lot easier to make these like tangible and specific. So then you have to come up with the plan. We could call this step 6. You got to come up with a plan. What is the plan? So I'm going to give this to you in a really easy example of how to reverse engineer, which I love reverse engineering because it's the only way you hit your goals, you guys. It's the only way you hit your goals. You have to have them engineered out, right? So for example, let's say I'm going to use something kind of crazy, but let's say somebody was like, okay, I am going to lose 100 pounds in 2025. Again, I'm just using this example as an easy one to reverse engineer on the fly, on live air. So 100 pounds. So how do you reverse engineer that? Well, you take the year and you just cut it in half. So by July 31st, I will have had to have lost 50 pounds. Now, this is how you start to understand, is it realistic, right? Then you take that 6-month margin, you cut it in half again, and you say, okay, so by March 31st, I have to lose 25 pounds. So now we start to take that 90-day block and cut it in thirds by each month. And you go, okay, if it's 25 pounds in 90 days, then it's like 8 pounds a month, right? And you're like, whew, okay, got it. So I need to lose 8 pounds on average each month. Now let's look at that by cutting it into weeks. And my favorite type of goal when you reverse engineer your big goals is to have a weekly goal. Monthly goals are great, but you can not do anything for 3 weeks and then try to hustle and catch up at the end. I don't love that. I love a weekly goal. So if you're to look at this and you're going to go, okay, so 8 pounds a month is 2 pounds a week. So literally on January 1st, you just had this insane, massive goal that seems completely unrealistic. It seems unrealistic, right? And you're like, that seems like it's just never going to happen. Like, where would I start? How would I do that? Well, it's Monday. We got to lose 2 pounds by next Monday. Now, that is a little extreme for me. By the way, with my health and wellness background, I would probably say, like, can we just cut all that in half and say 50 by the end of next year so it's 1 pound a week? But now all of a sudden it starts to get real. So then you start to say to yourself, okay, well, what do I need to do to lose 1 pound? I need to maybe start walking more. I maybe need to meet with a nutritionist. Maybe I need to go get that gym membership. You start to take this big goal that you're like, I'm not quite sure how this is going to happen. And you like microdose it basically into these tiny baby steps that you're like, oh, well, I can go for a walk today. I can call my friend Susie and ask her about maybe coming over to sit down and help me with my nutrition. Like, you can start to do these little teeny tiny things, and we start to understand that big, insane goals, lose 100 pounds, make $1 million, are actually totally doable because you're actually focused on these daily habits that are not that hard to do. But this is where everyone misses the mark. Most people don't connect the dots into that plan. And so they're not doing these daily things that are kind of simple, and they're not moving that needle forward on a daily basis towards that big vision. And the thing that's going to keep you in the daily behaviors, which can feel monotonous, which can feel not fun, is that big vision, right? That big picture that you're so excited about, that new identity. That's what's going to drive you. So I hope that this helps. If you couldn't tell, this is my jam. I love this stuff so much. I am going to link in the show notes that other podcast episode that I did, probably 2 or 3 years ago, but it's very specific to vision. So you can go a little bit deeper on just how to write that down, because I see a lot of people get stuck there, and I don't want you to get stuck. So guys, reach out to me. Let me know how this impacted you. But most of all, don't just listen to this episode. Go home and do the work. I'm going to recap really quick. Step 1, gratitude. Go through your camera roll. Write down the top 10 things. Step 2 is the wheel of life. Where are you in your finances? And you can Google that, wheel of life. Step 3, write down your big, crazy vision. Step 4, pull your top 3 goals out. Step 5, clarify those top 3 goals. Make sure they are crystal clear, SMART goals. And then step 6, reverse engineer it. Make a plan. All right, you guys, that's it from me today. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. We will see you next week.